Sorry guys, we're calling the meeting to order. It's 5:30, so we're calling the August 25th, 2021 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. If you guys want to join us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So just to start the meeting, under condolences, we wanted to just acknowledge and share the sad news of the recent loss of two commission members, Joe Ceriello and Peter Moore. Joe served as a member of our Recreation Commission for the past 15 years, and Peter served as a member of the Shellfish Commission for the past 4 years. So we send our condolences to their families and friends, as well as the commission members that served with both Joe and Peter. We just want to take a moment of silence for them. Thank you. So I'm going to do the approval of minutes, the correspondence, and then I know Barbara and Chris need to get out of here, so we'll move up the discussion on the bid waivers ahead of time, so we'll just do this quickly. So under, could I get a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of August 11, 2021?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
No
All
corrections.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Stacy, as always. So just under correspondence, I wanted to note that we received correspondence from Keith Bryans, the town planner, regarding the Planning and Zoning Commission's unanimous approval recommending that a town meeting and or referendum be held to allow voters to decide on the issue of allowing adult use cannabis establishments in town. So we have referred that into the town attorney, and as we discussed at our last meeting, we're going to move it forward at an upcoming town meeting and then directly to referendum. The next point was received an application from both Jean Pfeiffer, who's interested in serving on the Ledgely Board of Directors. I think you remember from the last meeting, also from Aaron McGregor. So we'll address that in an upcoming meeting, but it's great that they both want to serve. We also received a correspondence from Father Dennis Perkins of St. Michael's School expressing an interest in discussing the possibility of a long-term lease for the use of West Broad Street building. He noted that since leasing the building 2 years ago, they've had a 20% increase in enrollment, and he added that they've completed many projects, including painting the auditorium and all first and second floor classrooms and hallways, as well as restoring and refining maple floorings in several of the classrooms. So just wanted to note that and have a broader discussion of that at a future meeting, but just on our correspondence. Okay, and then I'd like to get a motion to move from new business the award for the bid for Town Hall and Human Services roof replacement ahead of old business.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Motion a second. Okay, so Barbara and Chris, thank you for being here. So just as a quick overview, the Department of Public Works received 3 bids for the roof improvements on June 22nd, 2021. The construction project includes the removal and replacement of the roof for both the Town Hall and Human Services building. Additional construction activities will include the painting of the Town Hall portico and installation of new gutters and downspouts. Activities at the Human Services building will entail the painting of the cupola and new gutters and downspouts. They are requesting the award go to the low bidder contractor Young Developers LLC in the amount of $320,000. Can I get a motion to award the bid for the roof improvements at Town Hall and Human Services to Young Developers LLC in the amount of $320,000?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I second.
Who's second? Okay. Before any discussion or questions, Barbara, Chris, did you want to share anything or just wait for questions from them?
A couple of things to share, I will. The consultant has worked with Young Developers before. We have an agreement being drafted between our finance director and the consultant as well in preparation. Pursuant to your review and acknowledgement and hopefully approval, we'll issue a notice to proceed. And we have a target deadline. All work is on both buildings. We're looking to complete by October 31st, or at least have a substantial completion by October 31st of this year, which is imperative with roofing because we need heat on the asphalt shingles. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you guys for moving so quickly. I know this project has had some hiccups, so thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
He just answered my question.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm sure there's a contingency, so when they start peeling away the roof that's been leaking for 10 years, I'm sure I'm assuming there's going to be rot underneath, so
It's like a Board of Finance deja vu. They went through this last week, 2 weeks ago, with the Board of Finance about the contingency.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
It was a lump sum bid, but we have two contingency, I shouldn't say contingency items, there's two unit items for sheathing underneath, and they have an estimate for repair. So as you said, when they pull up the slate that's there or shingles that are there, there is a unit price that they've offered for repair of the sheathing or wood underneath.
Okay.
And then in the budget, we have another 15% that was
Okay.
added to the construction bid for if we incur even more repair than we anticipate it
Okay.
will be required.
And there's slate shingles on there now?
Yeah, there's slate on there right
On
now.
the town hall?
There's
Okay.
asphalt on the human services building.
Okay, and we want to do this so that we can get the heating units in and properly done before the winter. And then you can put the HVAC.
Well, this actually, we won't be doing any HVAC at this time.
Okay.
Those bids, because of COVID, came in, I would say, twice as much as we had anticipated.
Okay.
But this will not prohibit
Okay.
future HVAC work.
Okay.
But they know that that's a future plan, because I think when they do the roof, they have to reinforce different areas where the units are going to go, so they're well aware of that, so that can happen at a future time.
The roofing in Town Hall is actually a flat layer with sloped edges. It looks like, and so on this project, the slate is only around the outer area that's sloped,
Okay.
and all the existing HVAC is on an existing flat roof
Okay.
that will not be touched in this project. I actually
Okay.
replaced that flat roof 6 years ago when it was like just the first year I started here.
Okay.
All
All right.
So-
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. That's it.
Good question. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, guys. We can head out. Okay, so the next item that we have is old business about drainage and about our ARPA. I think ARPA is gonna take like an hour, so I know we have people here to discuss, probably here for comments from the public, which is at the end. So if you guys don't wanna sit through all of our ARPA discussions, you're very welcome to, but if you want us to make a motion to move comments from the public up, we can do that. Would you like to do that? Okay, so can I get a motion to move comments from the public to now?
So moved.
A second.
So comments from the public.
We have to vote. We have to
Oh,
vote.
sorry, all those in favor?
Oh, wait, so what we're doing is we moved number 7. Number 7 was moved up after 5, and now we're gonna move number 8 up after 5, and then we'll do number 6,
And then we'll do
and then do number 9.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
understood.
So comments from the public.
Still
Yep, so
there,
you just have to what?
we still have to vote.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so just get your name for the record and
Address.
address.
My name is Leslie Driscoll. I live at 59 William Street in Pawcatuck. So I wanted to comment, I understand there might be something about changing the referendum date, but I'm gonna let other people talk about that. With regard to that apartment building, and this also ties back into Smiler's Wharf, Danielle, when you posted this map of the red flood zones, that Campbell Grain building is right in the middle of a red flood zone. So my comment is that I don't think Stonington should be building apartment buildings with multi-unit residential units in a red flood zone anymore, period. So that's that first comment. The next, I was wondering if we could consider a 4-year moratorium on the 830G affordable housing mandate. I know some other towns have received moratoriums so that they can then on their own go and look at the town map as a whole and plan where affordable housing can be more effectively to our red zones. Because there's lots of places like Brookside Phase 2 is not in a red zone. So that seems very logical to have affordable housing there. But Farmington, Wilton, New Canaan, Ridgefield, Darien, Berlin, Trumbull, all have qualified for the moratorium that allows the town to take control back from the developer instead of just letting things be pushed through without really considering the long-term effects. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Leslie, so I think my understanding of these meetings is we're not supposed to have as much back and forth, but on any of those points, and anybody else is gonna talk, if you wanna try and book a meeting with me at town hall or separately with them, particularly about ideas about flood going forward, we are updating our zoning regs, so it is something people who are interested in that, I'd love to engage more on that topic as we look at changing potentially our zoning regs going forward. And then I hadn't heard about this 4-year moratorium, so thanks for sharing that. Look into the information to settle that. Okay. Any other comments or from the public?
Yes, my name's Laura Graham. I'm 2 Moss Street, Pawcatuck 06379. I'm just here to voice my dissent with this, with the proposed Campbell Grain lot building. My main concern is traffic, and I spoke with a woman 5 years ago who said to me, she works on that little street, and she said, this was long before this was even proposed, and she said, I love working here. My only my problem living here is that I have to wait a long time before I can pull out here at this little bottleneck at the river bridge. And she said, I practice Buddhism, and she said, as a Buddhist, I try to remember that 1 minute is the same no matter what you're doing with it. It's a minute. And she said, a minute chatting with you is fast. A minute waiting in traffic feels like a long time. So we measured it. It takes a full minute for us on average to be able to pull out of this little side street into the main traffic. Flash forward 5 years, and I'm hearing that we're going to put 82 units, which is substantially more than La Quinta Hotel, which is up the street, and placed on Route 2 where it doesn't have traffic problems, and being plopped down in this little bottleneck of traffic where we as residents already have trouble getting in and out sometimes. And we're being told that traffic studies have been done and that this is going to have no impact on our lives and we should just accept it. And I am displeased by this. I don't want my life downtown to change that way. I don't want it to have the same kind of traffic that we deal with in Mystic. And I'd like to look at a bigger picture of Pawcatuck and our sense of well-being. I also want to speak in support of Father Perkins and the St. Michael's School, because that's a great soft asset for my neighborhood. He's done a magnificent job, and he has done a beautiful job. If you get a chance to go and see the brand new floors and just like how his sense of embracing our history and the importance of our past and how it ties in with our future, these are great things that can happen. But to give tax abatement money to a really wealthy developer in Boston that stands to make a ton of money off of our town just doesn't seem right to me. And to let them also put something in that just seems entirely inappropriate in terms of traffic, that too just doesn't seem right. And my son is leaving for Rome tomorrow, so I'm very thankful that you let us push this ahead, because I have to go home and cook him dinner. Okay. Mama's going to make the pasta. So thank you for hearing us, and thank you for the good work that you guys have done through this trying time with the pandemic as well. Thank you.
Janice, you guys.
Good evening, ladies. Tracy Swain, 54 Portland. Well, I have 2 subjects I'm going to discuss. Bear with me, because I am going to go jump from here to there. So first, do you think holding selectmen meetings at 5:30 is really allowing residents to be involved and become informed? Town meetings for decades have been held, and selectmen meetings have been held at 7 p.m. So folks could attend after dinner. Where's your brain on this one? Because I'm not seeing it at 5:30. There's like nobody here. Have any one of you bothered to look and read our state statutes? Because clearly you haven't. Because during the August 9th town meeting, when I made the motion to place the question regarding the wind developer on the November ballot, then questioned who was going to check the IDs of those voting, not a single one of you said anything. And more importantly, regarding checking of IDs, no one can vote at any November election in the state of Connecticut without an ID or a board budget meeting in any town. But here, during this meeting, the 3 of you thought nothing wrong of it and sat there and said absolutely nothing. Under Connecticut State Statute, Chapter 90, Section 7.7, states that the clerk or secretary, as the case may shall phrase such item or items on a form substantial for printing on paper ballots or ballot labels, provided that the designation of such item shall be in the form of a question as prescribed under the state statute. The vote on any item on the call of a town shall be taken by paper ballot, which was not done so, which you're in violation of state statute right then and there.
Okay.
Chapter 152.
Tracy, I want to let you keep talking, but I also feel like it's not appropriate for the minutes to reflect things that aren't factual. So
Okay, these are factual. I have the state statutes printed out right here. They are fact. On chapter 152, section 9, 369B states that the question shall appear on ballot, must be available for public inspection 45 days prior to an election, which must be filed with the Secretary of State prior as well. Those petitioning a town meeting vote have 10 days from the day of the meeting to get 200 signatures. Then the clerk has 10 days to verify all signatures before certifying it and passing it to the Board of Selectmen. Then and only then can the Board of Selectmen set a date for the referendum. You cannot hold it less than the 20 prior or more than 45 of the verified signatures from when you receive it. And I can tell you, according to the news reporters that I have gotten phone calls on, that for the fact they haven't been verified because there was 329 signatures that were submitted and all of them were verified using the last voters registration that I received from the Registrar of Voters for the budget vote, plus the Stonington GIS of property owners, which means you haven't received it and you can't receive it prior to August 31st. So you have to allow for the notice of the question also must be available to residents no less than 45 days. This is all laid out in state statute, which you must follow regardless of what anybody else tells you. State statutes, I printed them out, and I talked to the law clerk today from Hartford. Those are the statutes I stated. They are fact. Second issue, marijuana, which I know I've heard discussion about throwing it on the referendum ballot. It is still federally illegal. No matter that the state passed it, it's still federally illegal. The questions are, where are you proposing to put this if it were to pass? Are you putting it in Mystic for the tourists? You're not going to put it in the borough because they're going to have an uproar. So are you saying you're going to put it in Pawcatuck? What effects will this have on our neighboring state? What about our neighboring towns? What are their thoughts? Because Groton and North Stonington have already said, not us, not here. Okay? What will this do on our bond rating? How will this affect us in regards to federal grants? Do you know what the federal law is regarding how far away it can be from certain establishments? Like 100 feet from any school, any public playground, any public housing, any governmental property. What will this do to our property values? And where are they going to bank the money from it? Because at the moment, because it's not federally allowed, none of the banks are going to take the money from the current places. You go up to Massachusetts, yeah, they have it, but none of the banks up there take the money from the establishments. Then, what's going to happen to the drug dealers, because it's going to put them out of business, and they're going to push for harder drugs in our towns. So, last thought and statement here is, when my husband went to Stonington High, people in Stonington and surrounding towns called Stonington High Stoned Again High. And if we start selling it anywhere in town, we might as well change the name of the town to Stoned Again, because that's what our nickname is going to become again. And before you put something on a referendum or ballot, sooner or later, because some airhead told you it's a good idea, it's morally and ethically responsible for the three of you to find out more information to present to residents so they can decide yes or no. But between now and the supposed October referendum, that isn't enough time for the three of you ladies to find out anything, because there's still questions out there. And it's not enough time for November. What is the rush? Because police officers don't want it.
Do you have any comments? Okay.
She's here for more.
Yeah.
Because
Just
you guys are so scary.
Because we're super for intimidating. Do you have a comment?
Mr. Fiore?
So, Mr. Fiore, did you have a comment?
Oh, well, I'll make a comment just so that I open this up. Don Fiore, 5 West Line Street. If you want to go see St. Michael's School, there's an open house this Sunday, August 29th at 2 o'clock. Just in case you want to go see what Father Perkins has done to the
Yeah,
school.
thank you. He's done amazing work there. It's
Yeah.
we've been here for being able to go there. So like I said, we're not supposed to really get into a back and forth. Anybody is welcome to book a meeting within, town hall hours. If you can't do town hall hours, you can reach out. Tracy will say, I know we've been trying to find a time. I got super sick, not COVID, thankfully, and I did take a test, but I'm just starting to feel back, so I'm happy to sit down and talk in more detail, but I don't want to break the rules of order.
And as liaison to planning and zoning, I have some answers to some of the
Okay,
things.
so
that were-
June could talk to you at another date about some of the
Or
answers.
if you want to stay to the end, I'm
Planning
gonna
zoning,
address
or
them.
the end, yeah. But again, we have a really long night ahead of us to go through ARPA funds, so I'm gonna stick with the agenda items. But thank you guys, and again, for some of the key points, including, Tracy, if you either give Stacy anything that you want us to put into the minutes or email it to us so we can, potentially try and follow up on some of the points, with the town attorney.
Yeah.
Actually, thank you.
Okay, so
Stacy, this is the questions on the marijuana, and just so the three of you, I printed it out, so the three of you do have copies.
Thank you.
Because they are, I got mine out. You're fine. And I understood you not getting back to me because of the little dud of a storm.
Oh, Alright, so then moving on to the discussion from last meeting under old business, the drainage easement to the town over an existing swale at the Old Mystic Estate subdivision. Keith sent more of that information over, so I just wanted to see if you guys had, I'll just basically to recap, Keith Grimes, the town planner, forwarded a request from the Toll Connecticut Limited Partnership developers of Old Mystic Estate subdivision to grant a swale maintenance easement to the town. This item was tabled at our last meeting to allow for some of your questions on the topic to be answered. Keith has put together a memo with answers, but to summarize, the agreement requires the development and association to maintain the system, and if they fail to do so, the town may provide care and charge the developer and association any cost incurred. The homeowners association filed a declaration with the town, which states their responsibility for the swale's maintenance, and lastly, new homeowners' deeds do state that the property is subject to the declaration of covenants and restrictions regarding the maintenance of storm drain systems. Could I get a motion to accept the swale maintenance easements for Old Mystic Estate subdivision?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Any discussion?
No, this was very helpful. It actually answered the
Okay, good.
questions that I
Thank you.
had. I just wanted to make sure that there was actually something documented.
Right.
That if they don't maintain it, the town can go back to them and say, okay, you guys have to do this. This is your responsibility. So,
Yeah, no, I'm
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
I know you have more of a historical
Drainage.
knowledge of all of this, so if you're okay, I'm okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Okay, so now, ARPA. Okay, so what I was hoping we could do, so we're not here all night, we can stay as long as you guys want, is to go through each one line by line. What I did was, actually Jim helped me today, Sullivan, and we put it into like a more of a typical budget format, the spreadsheet in front of you. And then I made, under what I was putting as a suggestion for the Board of Selectmen meeting there for the adjustments, but we can make more adjustments tonight, and then we'll send that to the Board of Finance tomorrow, along with this packet, unless you guys have any comments or edits to the packet at any point. But so yeah, I thought we could go through line by line, and if you want to ask questions or share any feedback, or if ones jump out to you, we could do that. But if they're kind of straightforward and you're well aware of them, we can just kind of bump through them. Does that make sense? Stacey, does that work for you for notes and everything? Okay. So, okay, of course, we're going to start with probably some of the more challenging ones. But, okay, so the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce, which we talked about a bit at length, is the $100,000 request. About $80,000 would be direct grant opportunities for businesses and organizations in Stonington. And the the remainder would be partially grant administration for them, and then also direct money for a future chamber event. I know we talked about this one at length. I don't know Are you guys good with the 100,000 there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Me too. I actually wish it was more, but that's okay. Similar thing, but for the Southeastern Cultural Coalition, this is a pitch Wendy Burry gave to all the towns. I will say her original pitch was 1%, which would have been around like $52,000. I increased it after talking to her because if we go to 100,000, they actually do like grant administration help as part of that number, and obviously we're pretty short-staffed. And that is, they would also hold community conversations and dialogues around what do artists and cultural institutions in our community need. They encourage collaboration. For both of these, they said, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, other people could be on the decision-making board. Okay, that's not theirs. That was the 100,000 for that one.
Okay.
No, I'm okay with that.
We can also go back with something.
Yep.
Just so you know, these do add up at the end. But if you see something you're like, yikes, I don't feel comfortable with that, we can go back and revisit. The Mystic Chamber, I met today, and they slightly revised their ask. They actually asked for 33,000. I reduced it down to 28, and I can talk more with Bruce Flax, but basically his is, he actually just sent through the write-up, which you guys hadn't seen. But basically, one is 15,000, and they're requesting the same from Groton for basically having a kind of mobile tourism information kind of truck that they could have here, but also take to other events. Promote Greater Mystic, which would include all the way to the Pawcatuck River, and for Grand Side to the the Thames. But anyway, so Groton has given a soft commitment of the 15. It would be great, I think, if we did the 15. They've also, what was already in there, but I think they upped it a bit, was the police money back from the art festival 2 years ago. I did want to report they saw a 75% reduction in their bill for police, both cutting out Groton and changing the route even cut down what we needed to provide. So that was, I think, will be more sustainable going forward. And then they added in, actually at my prompting, $5,000 because they're working on this program with Groton for this kind of wayfinding with the QR code. But since it's Groton's money and Groton's partnering with them, it's mostly the God side. And we said, well, it would be great. Obviously, they were going to include our part of Downtown Mystic, but I said, well, it would be great to really attract people to go all the way to the Pawcatuck River and promote some of our borough and further further to the ocean assets. So he thought for like another 5,000, he could get Groton on board to include that in that. So it seemed good, but the reason I reduced it was my estimate was they owed us more money for the police bill, but we had talked about 8, so I felt like sticking at the 8 was likely fair. So that's where that adjustment came. The 28,000.
Yeah. So is there a way can we take care of that bill? I mean, that's a different subject.
Yeah.
We can talk about that some other time, but.
So
yeah.
like right now we're including it in this one.
Okay. So that'll help them pay the bills and they pay back.
to us.
All right.
So basically,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
pay it back to us.
All right.
All right.
So we're fine with that one
Yep.
for now,
Yeah,
and we can
that's-
revisit
yeah.
things. Okay, the water loop, we've been through, I think, pretty extensively. Do you guys have any comments or questions on that one? That's for the fire.
And this is to supplement
The
the
earmark.
other money.
Yes, the
Yeah.
1.9 that we should be, knock on wood, getting. And like I said, it still is probably $300,000 short of the total, but we're hoping through dialogue with private developers who would have to be paying something on their own anyways. If we're doing the work at the same time, it would make sense.
Okay.
But again, if that conversation falls short, we might have to find that money elsewhere.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was my only other question about engaging with the project.
Yeah, we haven't done it yet. We need to do
Okay.
it. I need to do
Okay.
it.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and then, my favorite topic, drainage. So 4th District
Can we
voted.
go back to the water loop just
Yeah.
quick? So when we present this to the Board of Finance, I mean, because there could be some projects that are delayed. I mean, I want to be able to complete it,
Yes.
and then perhaps if there's a project that might get done in 5 years for whatever reason and not done now, or in 3 years, that we have that they have to pay us for it. But I don't want an outside developer's stalled project to hold us up.
Yes, I do mean like,
So we need $300,000 more to finish it.
Yeah.
I want to be sure
they're
that,
paying it up front
yes,
to
we,
do the whole loop. That's a really good point.
Oh, that
Yeah.
is a good point, yeah.
That's, you should be at that meeting. We should have, we'll talk about pay for tie-in, or
Yeah, because if it is a project that has
Might
already
take
been installed,
longer,
yeah,
yeah.
it could take
Right.
longer because of COVID, especially with.
And the cost of building materials right now
Exactly.
too. So
Yeah.
they might have the land, they might have the project approved, but they may wait for the cost of
To
wood
say
to
if you
come.
want to participate in it, like it has to be upfront now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or we need to have a way of
Legally.
yeah, like
Holding
legally
them to it.
attaching or holding them to it.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's a really good
Yeah.
point. Okay, yeah,
Right.
we'll do that
all right.
if we can.
Okay.
That's a good point. Okay, so the two drainage ones, I think we've been through pretty extensively about paving and the drainage at Town Hall and the 4th District Voting Hall. Any questions or comments on those?
No,
I like those projects. I think
they're overdue.
very
Yes,
overdue.
yes.
And those, okay. And then the sewer, the I&I study, we've been through. If any questions, let me know.
No.
The radio loop, I just made a note in here. The police are gonna also present it at the Board of Finance meeting on September 1st as a potential withdrawal from fund balance. So we're keeping it in here and basically talking with the Board of Finance and the police about where's a better place to put it. So again, it might stay here, it might come out of fund balance, but I kept it in here just in case.
Can I make a comment about that?
Yeah.
Because the chief really explained the need for this at the last police commission meeting. So when the power goes out, the trees fall on a line, the radios go down. They have like a way of backup, but this would prevent radios going down and needing to find another backup. And it's happened 6 times since they've had their new radios. And it's trees that have fallen on transmission lines. So it's really about safety. I was gonna ask him how was the radio communication right for this past storm, but it's like when you need to communicate most urgently is when there could be a disruption in the communication because of
Oh, that's good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no, that should be in there,
Yeah.
but it's.
All right.
that's
so, and I
fine.
suggested that they might look to the Board of Finance to take it out of fund balance instead of
Okay,
this.
so sorry, why you're
Yeah.
like, so we'll see what they decide to do. Paving, this kind of breaks my heart because I had originally really wanted to put in the 500,000 because we cut 440, but in trying, this is again paving, this is what always happens, right? In trying to make the numbers work, this is where I took a substantial amount out of, so I think at a minimum, I wanted to say the Board of Finance, at a minimum, we should do $100,000 worth of paving work.
But it's got a balance, so we'll have to go through and see what it's balancing. But what happens, what if the radios come out?
Exactly, then we could add that.
Okay.
We could recommend if the radios come out, that should get added to paving. We could say, do you like that idea?
I do.
Okay.
And I think another thing to add, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but so some of these spends, I like the way it's organized, but some of them are approved expenditures. Well, they're all approved under ARPA, but some of them are due to loss of revenue.
Yeah.
So maybe highlight the ones that are due to the loss of revenue.
Yep. I can do that. I have
Because
that in
I
there.
know
wanted to
paving
take
is
out.
one of them.
Yeah,
So
paving.
paving is not necessarily an
Or do like a
approved
footnote.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, paving is not an approved use, and I'll highlight other ones when we get there.
I know there's a
Yeah.
couple we talked about before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's great. So I think we've been through the HVACs at length. We need those desperately. The salt dome, we went through pretty extensively. That's going to be in the SIP if we don't do it now. So
And that's in that same category, right?
yes, that is
Loss
another
of
one.
revenue, yeah.
The salt dome paving is
Yes, and lost revenue.
yeah, lost revenue.
Okay.
The Stonington Middle School HVAC, I put at just 0 for right now. The school, Van Riley sent in a request last week for the town considering splitting the cost of doing the middle school HVAC. I sent back questions. I know they're very busy, but I didn't get a response. So I don't feel like we can move forward with anything on this. My questions were how much have they gotten from federal money? And how have they already expended some, and how do they plan to expend others? Because never mind us, I know the Board of Finance needs to know that information. We needed it to move this forward. So I think I'm just going to remind them tomorrow that for that September 1st meeting, they absolutely need that, or there's no chance. And also just to reiterate that, and Jim's going to try and work on this by September 1st meeting, to show how much of our budget is truly operational Board of Ed, which we know, how much is SIP Board of Ed, also how much of our debt service is Board of Ed, and to do a all-encompassing, just so we can get a better sense, like, are we talking about 54% of our budget or 60? And then, again, just to have a respectful and honest, I think, conversation with them that on the town side, with whatever percentage of the budget we do have in total, like, we have to do all of our facilities, all of our above and underground infrastructure, all, every outside agency that needs assistance, all these things, and the school is a ton they have to work on too, but, we were given this money, and they were given money, and I feel like we have so much deferred maintenance and so many things that we need to address, like 1.4, I mean, we'd have to cut out a number of major pieces of this.
I'm not in support.
Yeah, okay.
I'm in support of 0.
Okay, like for good.
Yes.
I am as well.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And then under, okay.
That doesn't mean that they don't need to give us an accounting of what they've spent the money on. We still need an accounting.
Yeah.
So.
And I know they also had a surplus in fund balance this year that Jim's still waiting to hear how they're using that. So
They haven't returned it?
I think no, I forget what Jim said, yeah, but no, he's waiting on, I guess this is when it usually comes in.
Okay.
So under the next two, I'm very excited about that. So under that inclusion foundation, that's to, I'll try and come up with a better title for this, but that's the, kind of, what's it called, sorry, my brain was like, the Old Mystic town-owned site, that's kind of a stuck site, if you will.
Yep.
Old Mystic, yeah, town-owned site.
The old district office.
Yeah, the old district office. So the idea that, yeah, we've talked about, that's really a stuck site. A big part of why it's stuck is the sewer and the capacity and what could be there and what couldn't. And Inclusion Foundation approached us and is offering to basically do the first 2 stages of like concept validation and due diligence for, we'll give them the money, they do it, they already have all these people in place because of all the work they're doing at the site in Pawcatuck that looks so nice, the blue building. And obviously they're being very transparent. They have interest in that site, but they'll make anything they do completely, be town owned and fully transparent, fully open for anyone else to see who might want to eventually, hopefully, bid on it or respond to an RFP we put out there. But we all felt like it's kind of a stuck site unless we do some of this legwork to see what could go there. Are we talking about 4 buildings? Are we talking about 6? What really could be? So we thought this was a kind of a generous offer that they take on a lot of the work, which is why it's sat so long. We don't have the bandwidth to do it, and and that's like the estimates they came up with.
Okay.
That sounds good.
I'm really excited.
It is a stuck site.
It's
Everyone has all kinds of ideas, but you're right. What can you do given the nature of
What can you do? And
versus
it's costing us money every month that we sit with it.
Agreed.
The Child and Family Extension Office, I'll try and get an update from Greg Howard, because I know, like we mentioned, he's still working on the state angle of funding for this. But again, we talked about this. This would be to build a fully kind of inclusive child and family office in Stonington. We don't currently have one. They use the old chorus room in district office, but to build it out to meet their specifications and needs, the bid came in actually really high. And talking with Peter Anderson, and he's been great to work with. He thinks we could whittle it down to $250. I'm hoping we could further whittle it down to $2, especially if we aren't doing it right now in the heat of all this construction stuff, price gouging, whatever prices are increasing. Sorry. So yeah, I think that's really important. And obviously, it only happens if they get the state funding to open it.
Yeah.
And is that office going to be run by our Human Services?
No, it'll be run by Child and Family Agency, but Human Services is like 100% on board with this and sees this as like a need. And they were actually trying to get them an office here, I think, years ago when Kate was still in office. And Kate was trying to help them find an office, and they were struggling to find a place.
Okay.
And I think this is how it's progressed.
Okay.
And this build up includes a door that people can access.
Private entrance. Yeah, private kind of secure access, and then building out little office spaces and then like a waiting area.
So if we build the space for them, they occupy the space. Do they pay rent, or
So
is
that's
it something that?
According to the school, like that, because when I asked them, as we talked about, to split this cost, they said they think the town should pay the cost for the build out because they're supplying the district office rent free and utility free for the Child and Family Agency.
Okay.
So that's, it's hard when obviously all of our funds are actually taxpayer money and it's all, but that's how they were asking us to look at it.
Okay. And is this the full price or half of the price?
for the office.
Yes.
The $250 was what Peter and I got to thinking full price for the building.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm
All
hoping
right.
we can get it down.
Down,
there.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, that's totally yes.
all right.
So maybe no HVAC, but we'll do this. So under housing, I could spend hours. I won't go into any more detail about the housing fund, but the write-up is in here. We've talked at length about it. That's probably my biggest request push is the $500,000 to start a Stonington housing fund. Do you guys have any questions since last time we talked about it?
No, so is it, so it's still in here. I see,
Yeah.
because this is the line where things are, okay. Yeah, no, I think it's a really good concept.
Oh, yeah, I do too. Oh, no. I think these are ways that we can help people in our community
Right.
in real ways, not just.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing just to plant a seed with you guys, and if you think of it before the Board of Finance meeting, and again, you can send me feedback, because I just sent this to you last night. But like one of the concerns raised by one Board of Finance member that I talked with, because I have met with 3 of them individually, which is great, and I'm going to try and keep following up with them, but is like for a housing fund or some of these other things, it helps like one resident or like one family versus something like, say, I don't know, like the salt dome, kind of is for everybody, or sidewalks, or for, a broader part of the population benefits from it, or sewers, obviously, even if you don't have sewer, you benefit from the grand list growth, so that kind of argument versus like the housing fund, they felt like only helps 1 or 2 or a handful of residents, so just maybe sit with that and think if you can think of any counterpoints to why it is a good use of taxpayer money to help even if it is only 10 families.
Well, because it keeps them on the tax rolls. I mean, then it's a home that's still livable,
Yeah.
and it can be. I mean, if it's sold and that we have a lien on it. I know there's different criteria of when that lien goes away, but it keeps the house a viable home, and for them to pay taxes. So, and those taxes do help everyone.
Yeah.
And the other thing is about the affordable housing criteria that we need to meet. This will help us meet that,
Yes.
so that we
That's
don't
right.
have a developer, and that helps everybody.
Yes, exactly.
So we don't have a developer saying, well, you actually can't deny this because you don't have 10% affordable
And
housing.
so if we have this kind of thing that's
So
helping.
if we
our
have this to help that,
residents,
so, and how does not helping one family not impact everybody? I mean, there's the non-financial impact of that too. So, which is priceless.
Yeah.
Right, I just kept thinking like the quality of life and like helping our residents and
Yeah.
trickle down the road. Like if you're more secure in your housing, you're more secure in other parts of your life. But I was, just so if any other like little tidbits or research you've seen. The Stonington Transportation Fund, I can't remember if we talked about that, or it might have been a new one.
What
since our
about
last
Alice?
meeting. Oh, Alice, so Leanne agreed that we could take Alice out. That was the subsidy, the direct subsidy. So all the direct subsidies we took out. So that one Leanne was okay with us taking out.
Okay.
Did we talk about the transportation fund? I can't remember now. That came
Remember?
up from the PNC, actually, and Always Home, and then also from Human Services. So essentially, this would be something that, either Human Services or the PNC could run for us in-house. And it would be loans for people to either fix up their car or potentially even buy a car. Always Home calls it Wheels to Work program, but then the PNC was saying when they've been talking to people, some of the biggest obstacles to going to work or returning to work has been transportation, particularly around here. So we thought, if we could, similar to the housing thing, but for cars, like if we could set up a loan program where they take out, we give them help with either fixing a car or a down payment, and then the idea that they can pay it back over time. So that was just something that came up at the.
So in theory, it should be a sustainable fund.
Yeah, and like again, it might take like 10 years, but like it should be, and then 10 years, whether it's 5 or 10 years, they get money, it should be able to come back in, and I think that would be similar. Stacey does this great work with the foundation in town with loans, and similar. Like it can be hard chasing them down and getting it back, but when you do by I think saying to people, look at if you're doing okay now, or if you set aside money every month, like you're now helping someone else who is in your situation get this money. If not, so I think there's hopefully an inherent like payback.
And this is an approved ARPA expenditure.
Yeah, that should
Okay.
be, yes.
All right.
All right.
So that's that one. The mental health campaign is the 911 211 campaign that we're already running. That's the 10,000, and the additional 12,480 we talked about is for the mental part-time 4 hours a week, I think, or 8 hours a week mental health counselor. That they have very extensive wait lists, and this was a request from Leanne to just get another part-time person to add to who they already have.
So that would, so and I think this was a question that somebody on the Board of Finance asked, like they wanted to know, so which one of these, so any of these expenditures that are actually funding a person, so then what would come onto the budget
Yeah,
the next,
that's a really good point. So this
the next
one,
fiscal year
Yeah.
to keep that going?
yeah, so that would be an additional, that's a really good point. I'll highlight that more, $12,480.
Okay.
It's not extensive, but if we did want to keep them on the next year, they don't get benefits. They're not a employee, they're a part-time. So it's 8 hours, yeah. So for 12 months. So, but I think we could also, like Leanne could use that 12 months to show, did the wait list go down? Were there times where it wasn't as busy, or was it flat out? And then we can say we really do need it. But that's a good point. I didn't flag that one as a potential,
All right. That's good.
potential ongoing. Thanks, June. June, does that one give, and to be totally honest, does that one give you pause because
Which one?
the ongoing cost, the counselor?
Oh, no, it doesn't
Okay.
give me pause at all, and that's something else I'm gonna update the two of you at the, something from the last police commission meeting.
Okay.
It's needed.
Okay, so we'll keep that one. The libraries is just what we told them at the last budget meeting. I took it out because of ARPA, so I think we kind of need to keep that 30,000. The New Heights program van, the final cost came in at 55,000. The Sylvester Foundation said they could put up 10,000. That would be 45,000. Again, I felt bad, but just to get to our numbers to balance, I took 4,000 out to make it 41,000. I still feel like it's a substantial support for them as a new nonprofit in town and such an important need. I don't know if you guys wanted to talk about that one at all.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
No, that's fine.
So the Como, this is worth discussing. So they were asking us for $185,000 to do the HVAC in their auditorium and another area.
Wait, didn't they just do that?
Auditorium and gym. They didn't do the HVAC, I guess, because I think there's nothing in there. There's no like AC, maybe even or heat, but and they're going to pay $14,500 for the design and engineering work, and then the current estimate is $186,500. They still need to do HVAC, they said, the remainder of their Como building spaces, and also across the street, the thrift and maker space. So just to say, like, they're not asking us to do the whole HVAC for everything, but they feel like this is a need. I did talk with Beth Ann and say, like, this is probably the highest ask we have from an outside agency. And she basically said they need it, but they'd be appreciative of anything. So that's why I lowered it down to I wanted to lower it just to 85, but again, to make the budget work, I lowered it to 80. I don't know if you guys have other thoughts on that one.
No, I mean, I think for them, if they show that this is the town's commitment, then maybe they can get donations to match.
Yeah, do it in
Yeah.
phases.
Right.
Yeah.
It isn't like we're paying the whole thing. They're
Right.
fundraising to match it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that.
Okay. Always Home, they actually came in even lower than I thought, but basically they came in at a $10,000 request to set up a fund specifically for Stonington residents, and again, their mission, we all know that prevent homelessness, family homelessness, and they use it for really wherever they see need for Stonington residents, and they would expend that just for Stonington. They do such good work.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, no, they do great.
Okay, the PNC, Susan is going to get me something tomorrow. So this is really just a placeholder, but it's likely for an outdoor space like a gazebo or a covered patio area where seniors could do more of their programming outside. That way, even outside of COVID, they would have a nice covered outside space to have. But obviously with COVID, it will enable them to do more programming.
Okay.
So I don't know how much it is, so that's really a placeholder, and I'll adjust it.
That is a town building.
And that is a town hall building, yeah.
Yeah, and you always want to stress that. I mean,
Yes.
They lease it for $1, and they
Yes.
have first right of refusal, but the town does own that building, so.
So we'll come back to that. So the EFK Richmond is a new one. I have to talk to Jim because they had asked for 15. I reduced it to 5 again, same reason. But basically they got rejected from FEMA for reimbursement of all their PPE for all their residents, which was crazy. And we're still trying to sort of argue with FEMA that they are a pseudo sort of town agency. Like it is a little bit confusing and they're a little bit separate, but they're also, the Housing Authority is a Stonington Board of Commission. They oversee it and but FEMA is rejecting. So basically, if FEMA continues to reject, they requested that we help them with all these PPE expenses that they've had. So again, I put in at 10 instead of the 15, but
Is this not on here?
Oh.
Or am I in the wrong place?
Edith K. Richmond, number 44, under PNC.
Oh, no, I found it here.
Oh,
I
it's
just-
probably
just
not in
doesn't
here.
have it.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry,
alright.
that just came in.
All right, that's
Good
fine.
reminder.
I
I
just
will put
wanted
it
to
at 2. And it's also, I think, I'm panicking now because I think it's not showing up in the total. but
It's
we'll-
not showing up in the total, that was my other thing.
Yeah, it's over here, but it is in the other total, so we're good on that.
All right.
So
Okay.
I'll be sure to move that over and then description. Okay, thank you guys. All right. Then the rest of these are kind of straightforward. So ambulances, again, got taken out of last year's budget. We put that in. This is for Mystic River and Westerly. We already gave it to Stonington Ambulance. Police dispatch is one that could be an ongoing expense, but the idea is that we could monitor and observe how this position plays out. Does that help with the response times, or we only have the one dispatch officer on a third call or dispatch worker on a third call? I thought it was important. I don't know how the Board of Finance will see since it is an potentially ongoing one, but I don't know if you guys have thoughts or
No.
Okay. Cybersecurity is a
That was it.
is
Yeah,
the 1.9 million. So
Yep.
again, we've already spent 79,000 of that, so we can keep our insurance for the town.
Yep.
But the rest would be to get the wireless access points, both
Okay.
replaced ones that are dying and then get a few new ones. So we might have a few wireless spots at town hall, human services. So are you guys good with that one?
Yes.
Yes. And then legislate, yeah, like we talked about, to me, like it has to happen.
Yeah.
Can't imagine saying no to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy that they didn't get any funding,
So crazy.
I know.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and there is I just sent to Jim, or Stacy did, thank you Stacy, to Jim Sullivan, the offer that the COG put out for that 34,000 to basically help with all this grant administration and paperwork and everything. So Jim's gonna look at it and see if he does think it would be helpful. I might add that back in, and then we'll have to figure out where it'll, or just the Board of Finance will figure out where it'll come out of. But for now, I didn't have it in here because they do a great job with everything, but I'm just not quite sure if it'll take enough off of Jim and our plates to make it worthwhile.
Or is it gonna be more of the back and forth between them?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, yeah.
Confusion.
So are you guys fine with that one?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that's good. So I think we're like, with our numbers, we're like basically right, I think we're like $100 actually under where we need to be, assuming nothing else comes in and what the PNC sends. So thank you guys. This has been like months, so thank
No,
you.
it makes sense.
And so you're gonna present this to the Board of Finance next week,
Next Wednesday.
next Wednesday.
And I have to talk to Tim because they jammed a lot on their September meeting, so I was like, I'm a little nervous that like you guys aren't giving us enough time for this. Like we need at least an hour and a half, and that's assuming it's only 2 minutes per item.
Wow.
So like, I thought we'd have more of a dedicated meeting to this, and understanding that we still have the public hearing later in September, and then they'll do their final thing. So I think to say to them, look, this is, I'm going to send everything to them tomorrow. Please be really prepared, and let's go through it. Maybe only really where you have like questions, like maybe say like, go through it a little bit quicker. But I do want to be sure that they have that, and I also don't want to ask people to give up their night and come and present if they're going to get skipped or if there's only 2 minutes. So I want to find out like who do they want there, right, to be able to ask questions.
Yes.
And I feel also
Well,
if they're
this
sitting
is,
there.
listen, budget meetings go to 11 o'clock at night, all right? So, I mean, I know you don't want to be there till 11. I'm planning on being there.
Yeah.
I hope my schedule works out that I'm going to be there too, but the board, they just need to know that they could take that long.
Yeah. And
But
they need to do that.
sending them everything ahead of time,
To
so
cut
that,
down, yeah.
yes.
And do we need to post it if we're gonna go?
Not if you're just there.
Okay.
If we aren't,
We can just be there,
Okay.
yeah, for moral support, or if there's any kind of,
Because I was gonna try to go too if I could. But
Yeah, you would only need to post it if you guys were going to
present or something.
be,
Argue
yeah,
with
be part
them.
of, yeah, be part of that back and forth discussion. So if it's just going through Danielle and you're just attending,
Okay.
you can attend.
But if we're there in the audience and a question is asked of either one of us because of some historical knowledge we may have,
As
we're
a-
allowed, as a resident, we're
Like as
allowed.
as a resident, they could call on June to say something, right?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
I think so. I mean,
we're
it's,
not making a decision.
you're not, yeah, you're
We're
not,
presenting.
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to confirm that.
I mean, you could always ask them to make it a joint meeting if that made it easier for the flow of information.
I think they have so much stuff on this agenda, like.
Yeah.
They put so much stuff on it.
Yeah.
But it's a good one, I don't mind,
Okay.
2 hours.
I think you should make a motion to approve your list
Okay.
as is and forward it to Board of Finance.
Okay, could I get a motion to approve the final Board of Selectmen's recommendations to the Board of Finance for the ARPA funding?
So moved.
I second.
That was good.
Okay. I'm good at off the cuff motions. All right, any discussion?
So if there's a change on like the PNC number
Yeah.
or something, and this,
I'll maybe highlight it and note like this wasn't part of our, it was up or down or
okay,
discussion.
all right,
Is that-
I just
is
want to
that
make sure
good?
we're good
Yeah.
if there's a slight
Yeah.
change on that. No,
And
that's
then,
fine.
because I think also another continued expense is the dispatch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
I did note that one in here,
Okay.
but you're right, I think we should also maybe note it in here, like a footnote.
So there's 2 things.
Maybe your motion should be to send the recommendations to the Board of Finance for ARPA funding pending any additional,
Noting.
noting any
Yeah,
additional something.
That's kind of what I was
Start it,
getting
do it
at,
again.
So, all right. So
Okay.
withdraw the
Okay,
motion.
okay. I'd like to make a motion to send the existing ARPA recommendations to the Board of Finance, noting there could be slight modifications based on additional requests that come in after this meeting.
So moved.
I second. Thank you. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, that's good.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? I don't want
Aye.
to. Okay, and then, yes, go.
So I just have a question on the procedure, right? So we're gonna present this to the Board of Finance, then we're gonna have a town meeting. And then, so,
We're gonna have a public hearing.
a public hearing so people can have input.
Yeah,
All right,
and that they kind of like a, but yeah, they can
Okay.
say,
all right,
Like a
we'll have a
budget
public
meeting.
hearing.
Okay.
yeah, they
But
can yell
then-
at us again.
But so here's the thing, so like, and I know we wanna like have a town meeting where people can vote on it. It's like they can't vote this down. I mean, we can have a public hearing to change maybe the different funding allocations or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's not like this could be,
Well, they could vote it, I mean, technically they could vote it down and then we'd go back and get, I guess, their input on why it got voted down. And we'd go back and address it and then send it back again, just like we would with
Like a
like
budget.
a budget. I think because we picked this kind of, again, while people might think we don't believe in voter rights, we are trying to be really transparent and put forward, get, residents' input and engagement in the process. So I think since we set it up like that now and we communicate that, we kind of, need to see it through. And I would hope though, through our engagement efforts, that people would see this and, come out and be supportive. Because again, like you said, it's not like we can't get any more money and we can't spend less money. It would just be an argument over.
and there's guidelines as to what the
Yeah.
money can be used for. Cause
Yeah.
I know I saw some, there were some other requests and none of them, fit the guidelines.
No, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I think, like, making sure people understand
Yep.
about the guidelines.
Yep.
Yes.
We can't just,
We
spend
can't
the
use
money.
it on just anything.
Right.
Yeah, there's, yeah.
I
there's
think the more
specific-
legitimate ones might be that we've heard like we should spend more on like SIP related projects instead of the housing fund. You mean or things like that where. Or maybe the Board of Finance tries to cut all that stuff, and then the residents are like, "No, we really want that fund." Do you mean? So I see, but again, I hope by the public hearing we get a good sense of where people
Okay.
are.
Okay.
But you're right, like, we have to
I
be
mean,
sure it's really
we
clear.
can't use this money to repair the bridge,
No.
that's.
Yeah.
we
No,
can't.
right, we
It's
can't,
against the
right.
guidelines, we can't use it for
Right.
certain infrastructure things.
Right.
We can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, and those all require the coordination of the other towns, so it's like, this is, you know,
Right.
right here.
Okay.
Good. All right, so, we did so the next thing, just comments from the second? Okay, Deb, anything from you?
I'll be super quick because this has been a long meeting. I just want to thank everyone and all their hard work, even though the storm was kind of done. We had, a lot of people, volunteers working very hard, from people here and the fire department, the police, and the people over at the high school making meals and running the shelter and stuff. And you working very hard, Stacy. So thank you.
No, thank you. It was a good dry run. We saw a lot of things we did right and things that we could improve on, and we had some great calls with all of our first responders. But yeah, it was a little bit stressful, to say the least. But it was great. And honestly, just to touch on really quickly, like 4 of the people who came out of the 6 who came to the shelter were homeless, and then Deanna was here volunteering to work the phones, and so we got her to go over and meet with them and talk with them, and you never know if people are willing to accept resources or assistance, but she was able to make some of them a second connection, and with others a first connection, so it was, I don't know.
That's good for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll do the police commission first. So at the last police commission meeting, the chief said that in the month of July, Deanna assisted 48 people. So, and he said that those 48 people, most of them, this is how it would have normally have gone. Like they get a complaint, they would have gone down and given somebody a ticket for whatever they were violating. They would have gotten a ticket that they couldn't pay. And then there would be a court date, and they would show up for the hearing. Then there's a warrant for their arrest, right? And then if they get found, they're arrested. Then they end up in jail waiting for their court hearing, which then gets thrown out because it's a misdemeanor. It's a huge strain on the system. Instead, she was able to get them help and send them in the right direction. I just got goosebumps, right? She was able to get them help, and connect them with the right resource so that didn't happen. So when Darren was sharing that, and he looked over at me and said, "Your thoughts?" And I said, "So we need another person," right? I mean, that's just 1 month, like her first month, that people that she assisted. And that's why I know that, that the Department of Human Services is asking for another counselor. This is kind of that part. So that was just.
And may I just ask, was that the 48 people were just the direct from the police, not anyone through Human Services, correct? Wow. So I wonder, I'd be interested to see what her number was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
she gets her own direct referrals too. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Oh, you know what? I'm not sure, Stacy.
I think you're right though, because Darren said that before, and I think it is just the.
I think it's just
referral.
all right. Then just the police. So, what else? And the microwave to keep the phone, the radios working when there's a power outage and there's downed lines and what. For some reason, I thought everything was underground. He says, "No, tree falls on the line, the wires, the service goes down. That's it." So, and I think that was it for the police commission. They did say there was a fair amount of conversation about the cider mill.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I've heard,
So,
And did they make any final decisions?
No, I think there's something that might be coming to us, but I don't know.
I have
Yeah.
heard
I
from
can
people
touch
about
base.
that.
All right.
I've gone to 2 different, maybe 3 different meetings with them, 2 of which were with the owners and their family about it. And DPW's offered to help in any way they can, all these things, but I know there's still concerns about parking.
About parking, yeah.
A lot of concerns.
So,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so marijuana. The reason why we need to vote on it, and sooner than later, is because the state, we don't issue the permits, right? They're from the state. So if somebody, and in Stonington, it's for residents that are, for municipalities, for every 25,000 residents, you could have one shop selling it and one location processing it. And these licenses are issued by the state. We have no control over who gets the license. But if somebody gets a license and wants to open up business here, and we haven't had an opportunity to vote yay or nay on it, like if we don't want it and they open up business, we can't stop it. So, but of course, the business has to be in a, it has to go with our with our zoning regulations. It can't be out of somebody's home. It has to abide by all of our, it's a special use permit, like, you know, for our zoning regulations. But that's why I think it's important that we, I'm not comfortable saying, no, I don't want it, or sure we want it, where that should go to a referendum. So planning and zoning unanimously passed it to us, and we can make that decision. But that's why it's important to vote, to decide on it sooner than later. There's a fair amount of it that's completely out of our control if we don't act fast.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
I think that was all I had for the Climate Change Task Force canceled our budget planning for last night. They canceled it.
Why?
It was because of the pending storm, and Rick thought that we would be cleaning up a lot of stuff and that the PNC might not have power, and so he thought that he needed to cancel within 24 hours. So he canceled it on Thursday so that Friday it could be posted, because he didn't expect Monday for town hall to be open or for a proper cancellation. So the next meeting is September 16th.
Okay. That's okay, it'll give us more time, I fell behind a bit on some of that, as I say every meeting, because like climate change doesn't get addressed.
Well, I think I have a report that I'm putting together about their initiatives
Okay,
and what they've done, and so
that'll be really helpful.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I've been reading the minutes and the agendas that are available on the site. I'm looking at Stacy because I can only go back to 2014, and I understand that the task force was formed before that. So how would I get the minutes and the agendas from meetings that were prior to what's available on our website?
So the town clerk obviously would have all those minutes in like
Okay.
a climate change task force bind. They have a binder or a minute book on all boards and commissions, so you could always go to that.
Okay.
We used to have, I don't know how far back it went, but there used to be a capability to go online and find older stuff. But when we did this recent merge on our website, all the old stuff is not there anymore. So they're working with the person, the web developer, whomever it is, to. They did like, I can't think of a migration or something, and they're
Okay.
trying to get that data back. So
Yeah, because it does only go
yeah.
back to January 1 of 2014.
Yep.
So.
But yeah, I mean, if you needed it, you could always just go to the
Okay.
town clerk and she'll be able to pull the book for you and
Okay.
you can read through.
And then another thing is like the freedom of information. I know that you can send a request to the chair to add something to an agenda, which I did for this meeting that was supposed to be held last night. And then he emailed me back and said that I was violating freedom of information, and please do not ever do that again. Like to not send, like it's a group that he sent it out to the whole group, and would you like something added to the agenda? So I replied, but he told me I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I think.
So I think I need some.
Because after that email, we connected with Tom Hennick from the state about FOI, and Cindy was out, so we were playing kind of phone
Okay.
tag. But I think what we want to do is have Tom come down or virtually give another FOI class.
Okay, because
And
I have
highly-
probably been 10 years since
Yeah.
he's done that before, and he's so helpful.
request/require chairs and encourage others to attend.
Okay.
And I know CCM, I think, did one, and they had a recording, and the recording wasn't working that same day. It was very funny. Tim O'Brien went to that one. He thought it was great, really helpful, training on FOI stuff. and we wanted to share it with everybody, but the website wasn't working. So we're trying to figure out if we can get that presentation.
I think I got it.
You got it?
I did get it.
Okay, so we
Okay,
can send it
okay.
out as a refresher and then see if we can do an update, but it is confusing, but I think, again, unless we're missing something, I know Rick has a ton of knowledge on the rules, but I think it's, like we said, it's fine for anyone to request something be added, it just can't turn into a back and forth discussion, but it's
Right.
fine to say I'd like something added to the agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my understanding. just
And but
discuss
maybe,
it.
maybe, yeah, who knows, but
Okay.
we can maybe.
I mean,
have a-
yeah, maybe in the future it should just be you to the chairperson. I would like this item added.
Okay.
I don't know. But I think it's allowable because you're not talking about the item, you're just saying, please
No.
put it on so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And how else would he know that you
Right.
wanted to talk about it?
Okay.
Can I ask
Alright.
one other
Yeah.
quick question? It's not quick, probably, it's a hot potato. How are the railroad crossings? Are we gonna talk about that at some point?
I have
Maybe
a
it's
call hopefully Friday.
What? That?
The railroad,
The new Amtrak.
The new
plan
Amtrak.
That they wanna I don't know.
they wanna get rid of the level crossings, like in Wampanoag and.
Lord's Point,
Lord's
Latimer Point,
Latimer Point.
Elihu,
Yeah.
I don't know how it would be like billions of dollars to even fathom how they would create new roads, maybe even bridges to detour traffic in a different way to avoid but anyways, it has been brought up, so I reached out a week and a half ago to Congressman Courtney's office, and I'm fairly certain Friday morning we're gonna have a call.
Okay, good.
With Ianti, who's great on his team. So we'll get a sense, hopefully, is this something we need to kind of prepare and get ready to fight?
Yeah.
Or is this just something that got put out as a potential vision and it's not really going anywhere? But yeah, we're very concerned. We've had calls from Mompasek and Lord's Point mostly, who are understandably also really concerned. And it's also the proposal calls for potentially even cutting through a bunch of open space that have ammonia owns and wetlands. We're but it's. But we know sometimes Amtrak comes up with these things and then they're throwing it out and it doesn't go anywhere. But we also know sometimes you have to really be prepared as a community to push back on it or they do it.
Well,
so,
that was why I
that's
wanted
why
to
the-
mention it, because if we need to start doing something, we should start. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of them don't go anywhere because there's so much pushback. There was that one.
Lime one.
Right. There's the high-speed corridor between New York and Boston. That was just gonna go right through everything historic here in Connecticut. So, okay.
So again, I don't see how it's economically feasible, but also it would, I don't know, it would be disruptive to say the least. So, we have a call, so I can share at the next meeting or if anything bigger comes up. But if people ask, tell them, kind of hold tight. We're trying to get more information about it. Because of course, no one from Amtrak reached out to us, but that's another point. And then we'll see what we need to do on it.
Okay.
Okay. I know it's so I'll keep mine really short. Basically, just say every week we've been having COVID calls with the COG and with additional to legislate Uncas Health and another health district that serves some kind of northwest area. And it's been helpful. It's been informative. I'd say the towns are still pretty split. I'm saying Stonington is still saying and the borough and Jeff Callahan's been wonderful to work with, as has North Stonington with Mike Ergo, trying to make a decision together, at least as our corner, saying for now, let's not do the mask mandate for businesses and organizations for townwide. We we created, I think they're kind of cute, these little signs based on ones North Stonington had at the top is masks are strongly encouraged indoors, and then below please get vaccinated if you're able, with a town seal and a heart. And a number of restaurants and businesses in town all were blue ups. We put them up, Saltwater. Most of the, I'd say almost all of the restaurants in downtown Mystic agreed to put them up. And then our numbers did go down last week. We went from red back to orange. So our numbers, they're still higher obviously than we want them to be, they did decrease. So we're let's keep giving people a chance to do the right thing on their own and wear a mask when inside and they can't keep the 6 feet and not putting, I think my biggest thing is I don't want to put the onus on what we're hearing from people is the receptionist or the clerk or the hostess who's the one who has to fight with the people who don't want to put the mask on, and we're not there to help them. The police have expressed that they don't have the bandwidth to go do this, which I understand. And it's not quite where we were last time. There's going to be more people pushing back on it. And so Waterford also we've been talking to a lot. And they also feel the same way. We're keeping an eye on hospitalizations and, trying to keep all of this in check and understanding we might have to go there, but we'd like to not if we could. So again, if you talk to people, just keep encouraging them. Like the more people who wear masks inside, the better. The more they're still really careful about indoor gatherings with your friends and families. That's another spur. Church, wear a mask. Like these things matter. So that's one thing. And then maybe just to end on a positive note, we were featured in Food Waste Biocycle magazine.
Oh, really? For the pilot.
For the
Such a
pilot, for
cool
the
thing.
food composting pilot that we're hosting in Stonington.
What's the
It
name
got
of the
cut off.
magazine?
It's so interesting.
Biocycle.
John gave me a tour of it.
Yeah,
It's so
amazing.
interesting.
So I'll send that around. But we were excited that we were featured. It's an awesome pilot program, obviously, and hopefully the state likes what they see, and then we'll get approval to kind of take this forward as a region, which would be really exciting.